Good morning, John. How are you doing?
Good morning, sir. How are you, John?
Doing great, doing great. Welcome to episode 17. I always start the show and say it's impossible to believe how late in the year it is. I am just floored that it's already December 2nd. Oh my gosh. Where is this year
It's
gone, right?
absolutely, it's absolutely incredible. It's December. And in fact, a little birdie told me that something very special happened on December 1st. And so to celebrate that, John, did you turn an extra year older yesterday?
I did. Thank you very
All
much.
right, you know
Wow.
me in props, so I like to have my props. So this is our special happy birthday plate that we only use for birthdays. And so
Oh,
here's to
thank
you.
you.
Happy birthday, John.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's certainly been a whirlwind of a year, and I couldn't believe it was already December 1st, and I can't believe it's going to be Christmas and the holidays, and it's going to be the new year, and oh my goodness, time
Well,
flies.
speaking
And maybe
about
it's just because I'm
shopping,
getting older, right?
that's right, just because you're getting older. But speaking about shopping, John, who do we have on the show today? This is amazing.
Yeah, so we have an incredible guest. We'd like to bring her on the stage quickly because we want to use every minute we can to speak with her. We've got Dawn Francisco, who is the CEO of Be Glowing. And we like to welcome Dawn. I know it's early for you in the morning. You're out in the Bay Area. Good early morning to you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, America. I wanted to say that my whole life.
We have to say good
Well,
morning
there you
first
go.
because we have global viewers on too, right?
Yes, good morning. Good morning, the entire
Dawn,
planet.
this is great. This is great to have you on the show. I mean, the industry that you cover, health and beauty and everything you do, I'd like you to learn a little bit more about the site and everything you're doing there as the CEO. But it's a $511 billion industry, and it's growing dramatically. In 2025, it's going to be over $700 billion. So what got you involved, and where do you see your business going? I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, I started many, many years ago at Neutrogena when I was a real youngster, like in my early 20s. And I left the beauty industry and did some other things, some entrepreneurial things, and then came back to some Fortune 500, Fortune 50 companies, Estee Lauder and Target,
Wow.
where I was with Dermstore. I don't know that I'm a beauty junkie. I wish I could say that I am. Fortunately, there are a lot of people on my team who are, right? And who have been on my teams. But I do love the size of the space, and it's always very challenging and intriguing. Things change very rapidly. So I'm always up for a great challenge. So I love that aspect of it the most, probably. And then, of course, like in the beauty industry, beauty is an interesting term now, right? As things have become less gender associated, but it's more about self-care, right? And what we put on our skin, what we put on our face, what we put on our bodies, how that makes us feel, which can have a huge impact on us psychologically. So I do, of course, love that aspect of it too, that on many levels, we are helping people, feel like their best version of themselves on any given day.
That's awesome. I love that. In fact, I was shopping on your site and I found a mojito lip balm. And
You're
I'm
like,
like,
this will make me feel like my best self on any given day.
yeah, I mean, 9 a.m., if I'm tasting a mojito at 9 a.m., how do you not feel good, right? I mean, that's amazing. And it was all curated for me, which was kind of cool. So I think it's a really neat online experience for sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, we have a team that does an incredible job of that, diving into trends and, looking for emerging brands and emerging products, but also, very knowledgeable about some of the iconic brands that have been out there in the world for, hundreds of years.
So your industry specifically from an e-tail perspective and beauty and health perspective has really been front and center during the last 18 to 24 months with COVID, right? And there's got to be some, I call them best practices or lessons learned that we've all, thought about over the last couple of months. And of course, we're in a different place now. It's certainly not over. Right. Although I think there's definitely probably a light at the end of the tunnel. At least hopefully there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But I mean, it certainly it's driven your business right through the roof in a great way. Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been interesting, right? So I think when you hear a lot about the dramatic growth on the digital side or the e-com side for most retailers, it's I think, more prevalent with retailers who had brick and mortar and online, right? Because they were under indexing in online. A lot of them had postponed, advancements in that sector because they were very distracted with stores. Think about some of these organizations having thousands of stores. It's difficult to get out of that mindset, right? That culture, that brick and mortar culture, and to really improve your online experience and grow that share of revenue. So we saw big growth there for those. Now, of course, we saw growth too, but we also saw some shifts, right? So we lost our makeup business for a good amount of time, right? Which at one point in time, makeup and skincare were about equal in terms of market share out of the overall chunk of the pie. But makeup, like lipstick especially, dropped, and for us, that was about 30% of our business. So we lost a good chunk of that. Fortunately, with the increased activity online, we held strong and we're growing year over year. But I think the really remarkable increases that you saw with retailers were the ones that also had brick and mortar. They didn't talk to you about the declines in the stores, right? So overall, we had, I don't want to misquote this and somebody should do a Google check, but I think Sephora was down 30%, first year of COVID, which is pretty significant, right? But of course, the story is the online portion of their business was I'm sure up over 100%.
Well, Dawn, one thing to think about there, I thought was really interesting is pre-COVID, 85% of the health and beauty was purchased in brick and mortar. And I can only assume because of that consultative approach, right?
Yes.
And because of COVID, the online, I mean, Dawn, you must have seen a huge lift with regards to the online opportunity, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And especially, I think online e-commerce as a whole, right? Everyone was saying to themselves, wow, if we are not excellent at this right now, we need to be excellent at this tomorrow, And so there was a real sense of urgency to sort things out and to get good at it. Fortunately, working for, a pure play, like I was at Dermstore previously and now here at Be Glowing, they were both quite good at that. So we just continued to do what we did well and also add obviously a few tricks here and there. But yes, the industry in general has become quite energized. So new technologies are constantly emerging, especially in the headless space. And so, it's it's kind of a bit of a hectic place right now, to be honest.
And one of the things I can imagine is, we talk about this all the time, it's not even just in the e-tail space, but actually it's impacting every industry, is what I call this Amazon effect, the Amazon effect, right? Because everyone expects their experience, whether it's in healthcare, hospitality, flying on an airline, buying things online, right, to be just like Amazon, where they can easily navigate, they can order, they can literally track where their package is down the street and be standing outside to receive it, physically in their hand from the driver, that type of a thing. And I was just curious, how has that impacted, like Be Glowing? I'm just curious what you think about that.
Yeah, I mean, it does put pressure on us to make sure that we are incredibly responsive when it comes to fulfillment and delivery. And I think obviously at some point soon we need to be in the same day delivery space. But we are not Amazon, right? We're sort of like the non-Amazon. And I think as we are seeing more and more retailers trying to compete with Amazon, even adding headless marketplace platforms, right, to their own platform that consumers aren't even aware that they're there. And I think there's a real battle right there in that marketplace space. We will, we may potentially entertain some of those technologies, but we are going to remain true to our consumer, which is a luxury consumer, very much interested in primarily badge brands, like iconic badge brands, right? And they don't want to shop on Amazon. They actually, it's not worth the trade-off to get it, the next day or in 2 days, because the experience, the psychological experience and the emotional experience doesn't pay off for them. And so we double down on content, right? And making sure the site is beautiful and exciting things are happening. And we tell great brand stories. That's something that's incredibly important to us.
That's absolutely key,
right?
Oh my God.
Because you're not really learning about a brand on Amazon. It's you'll probably go there to replenish, right? You could quite possibly replenish there, but certainly not the ideal place for discovery. Yeah.
And to that end, I was going to ask, do you all, so you talked about maybe they go there to replenish, but do you all offer, subscription based?
Yes,
more than
we
just buying
haven't
it for
yet.
one time.
Yeah, we have not yet, but that is definitely one of the things on our LRP. It's something that Dermstore did and was quite successful at, and still does. You can see it on their site. But auto replenishment is super important, especially as it relates to skincare. So we'll be adding that this year for sure.
And Dawn, I think going back to this Amazon thing, I think it's such a smart move, and it's so interesting. Is many brands or retailers, get stuck in the trap of saying they need to go compete with and enter, as I call it, the Amazon Stadium. But you always want the home field advantage. And I remember Target back in early 2000. Remember, they said they were going to go after the Walmart with the low price. And Walmart invited them into the stadium, and they got crushed within 4 months and said, whoa, we're leaving. Thanks for playing. We're going to go back to what we knew best. And I think, Dawn, it's the same thing as you're saying, no, I'm not going to fall into the trap of playing in their stadium. I'll invite them to my stadium of curated personalization, things that make you unique. Is that kind of the strategy?
Absolutely the strategy. Yeah. And I think especially right now, guys, if you think about like how we feel right now, right, with everything we've gone through in the last couple of years of COVID, I think the thing that is kind of lacking for a lot of us who work remotely is that feeling of warmth and human connection and the dopamine rush we get when we're shopping. When we used to go to a mall, maybe when we were younger with our friends, and we'd have a good time. You buy something, you get super jazzed up about it. That was that dopamine rush that really drove a lot of retail growth, right? And Amazon cannot deliver on that. I think it's also hard for any e-commerce channel to deliver on it, but that's where we're headed, right? That is what we're firmly focused on, is how do we create an emotional experience that's memorable for them?
The Macy's experience, even as a guy, I never sat in the chair, and I'm not going to tell you that I wanted to, maybe, but it was such an experience to even just walk through that section of the store and see all this amazing beauty and people getting, dolled up and everything else. It was incredible. So if you can bring that into the online experience, what a differentiator.
Yes, absolutely. And we have a concierge service. We do provide a lot of like white glove, very much high touch services to the consumer. But I think there's some new technology to be built in that arena. Personally, it's not something I want to go into, but it's definitely something we're looking at and eager to maybe, do something with in the coming.
Well, no, it sounds like
Dawn's got a secret.
You're on the right track. You're on the right track because
Dawn's got a secret, John.
I saw that too, but we'll honor her request to not chat about it. But I think it's amazing. We get very few, folks on our show that really talk about and highlight, without us asking, highlight differentiation and storytelling and curating. And what John and I have seen in a lot of the research that we've done and our firm has done, and just industry wide, is the experience is what matters. The product matters. The product has to be good, but that's really table stakes, right? At the end of the day, the product's going to be good. It's got to be a fair price. You got to be able to get it in a reasonable amount of time, but it's the experience around the product. It's the online experience. It's the what happens if I have to return it experience. It's the what happens if, I need to get another, a subscription supply of this, and how easy is it for me to start and or stop that type of thing, right?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. At the end of the day, we know this in so many aspects of our lives, right? It's how you make people feel that matters.
That's exactly it.
That's great. And y'all get it, obviously. That's wonderful.
On some of the trends that are happening in the marketplace, buy now, pay later is a huge trend. Millennials are just scooping this up. You utilize Afterpay on your site, I noticed. So has that been something that you see that your consumers are grasping onto, is the Afterpay?
Yeah. And we're in the luxury space, right? So maybe not as much as a Sephora consumer might, but yes, Afterpay is robustly used on our site. I love them as a partner. They knew early on that they really needed to partner with their retailers and with their brands. And so we get a lot of referrals from their site as well. So we absolutely love them. What we have noticed and learned, that this might be kind of curious to hear, but Gen Z is not embracing buy now, pay later as much as millennials had, right? And it could be that it was a newer technology for millennials, right? But Gen Z, I mean, can you imagine being part of that poor generation? I mean, they've been through hell, right? And so they're very resistant to any kind of debt, even buy now, pay later debt. And so they're just paying cash for, debit card basically in real time for most of their purchases. So I think it'll be fascinating to see what happens, in the coming decades, but it's obviously here to stay. It's a great tool. And it's also another kind of one-click checkout, if you will, right? So
it's the updated layaway. It's an updated layaway version, right? From what used to be.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's probably people listening to the show that don't even know what layaway means, right? Think about it.
Yeah.
I loved layaway as a kid. Growing up in Oregon, fairly poor, and the whole Kmart layaway situation.
Oh, I remember that too.
Yeah.
The Kmart and Sears and JCPenney for Christmas especially, you put stuff on layaway.
The big difference is that layaway, you had to save up the money and then get the product after you had fully paid. And what's different about this buy now, pay later is, what the consumer's doing is they're getting the product on right away and then paying over time.
Instant gratification. Instant
gratification. So it's really interesting. Yeah, totally. So
well, speaking of that, go ahead.
Tell us a little bit about the market. Yes, tell us a little bit about the market split. I mean, Asia Pacific I was astonished, is over 46% of the market in health and beauty. America, US is 24%. So are you focused at all on the Asia market?
We're focused on the global market. So we do have consumers from, Asian countries for sure. We also have consumers from Canada, from Europe, especially the UK and Germany. So we're focused on the whole entire world and just, making everyone feel great and look good. But we love the Chinese consumer too. We have different people on our customer service team that speak different languages. So we make sure that we can cater to them.
That's awesome.
And speaking of that, so getting product to anybody around the world, even sometimes in the US in these days with supply chain management issues, can sometimes be a challenge. And have you all seen any of that over the last couple of months?
I think we're doing a pretty decent job. I need to knock on wood. I don't have anything around me, but there are moments where there are spikes in concerning KPIs or disruption. But I would say by and large, the norm is we're running a pretty good ship here. And so things are pretty solid. We had October was a rocky month, I think, for a lot of people. For some reason, supply chain was, I think, at its worst in October. It's starting to improve a little bit, but no, we're in pretty good shape. Yeah,
that's awesome.
We don't hear that from a lot of people.
Yeah, you don't hear from a lot of people. And you had one of your biggest periods. You had one of your biggest periods, Black Friday and Cyber Monday. How'd you guys do? Was it awesome?
We did great. Yeah, we did the best we've ever done. So a record month for us as a company. Outpaced, last year and the year before, and we outpaced our goal. And we had a hefty goal this year. We had high aspirations for holiday this year. So we were all thrilled. I mean, I flew into the DC with my head of ops and my head of merchandising, who's the person who curates, what you see, along with Lisa King, the founder. And we packed orders and helped the team at the warehouse and, ordered pizza and celebrated. And we were definitely jumping up and down, celebrating on the last day.
That's awesome. I looked at some stuff in China. I'm sure it was similar in the US. Is the pandemic created an 80% downturn in cosmetics because people weren't going to offices and everything else. But the rebound was astonishing. So, and that was from 2019 to 2020, 2020 to 2021. So I can only imagine, Dawn, that 2022, as we get into this holiday season and people are getting themselves back out, the lift is going to be incredible. Would you think? Is that what you're preparing for?
Yes. I mean, we saw actually a big lift in June and July in makeup. And I thought we were back. And I don't know if you guys remember, but, we had the big COVID spike in the US, right? And then things got a lot better in the summer. And the mask mandates came off in most places, including California and New York. And we were back to the races, right? And it was party on. We were selling a lot of makeup, a lot of body bronzing things. It was like, clearly you could see it, in what was selling, that people were ready to go out and have a good time. We have seen it, taper down just a little bit when the mask mandates went back on, in California and most parts of California. China's certainly struggling a little bit right now with increased COVID challenges. So, and then of course in Europe, right? And now we have the new variant. So, skincare, personal care, I think the things that make us feel good will remain very, very strong. I think we may not see like a genuine makeup boom until we get past these mask mandates.
Interesting.
Yeah. And
now, yeah, go ahead, John.
Now, say you mentioned that you were in your your distribution center. You could tell I'm a tech person, right? In your distribution center here in Dallas this week, and doing the Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and how successful that was. You talked about celebration with the team, and one of the things I wanted to ask is obviously it takes a very special team to keep that sense of passion and enthusiasm and sense of urgency. And that coupled with what we're calling this great resignation that's happening, there's got to be an intense focus, obviously, on employee retention. And just wondered, what some of your insight was on that.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to bring tears to my eyes right now when you talk about my team, right? There's nothing more important to me than our team. So it's our team, then our customers. I think it does. It takes a special group of people. We have been remote since before COVID. So we do have an office in Portland, but we basically set up a remote operation prior to COVID just because we're in the digital space. It was not necessary, to have people come to the office. So it can be challenging, right? But we do, we have a weekly KPI meeting where we celebrate anniversaries and birthdays and things like that and our wins. And we have happy hours, and then we do get together in person, from time to time as well. But I think that the part that I see, right, is that everyone really does need to be aligned to a common goal. And I think as a leader, if you set goals that are difficult to reach but achievable, I think very important, right? So that they feel like they've been part of some sort of a race, right? And then you take them to the finish line. I mean, that's, at the end of the day, we all want to feel like we made a difference. And I think that's how you put people in a position to make a difference. I also try to be a very good listener. I think, we were going to chat a little bit about some of my big learnings from working at Estee Lauder and Target, and both incredible companies, right? Top CEOs in the world, Brian Cornell and Fabrizio Frida, top 10 CEOs in the world, both of them. So extraordinary experiences. But the one thing, most of what I learned was very positive, but the one thing that I learned that was my takeaway is that if I was ever going to be, a CEO again, I wanted to make sure people could tell me anything, right? And because what I noticed in those organizations is oftentimes the most important information, the most crucial information, the stuff that's really negatively impacting the business never finds its way to the top because people are afraid, right? No one wants to share bad news. And so I try to make sure that people can talk to me about anything, and that even, the biggest mistake, the worst misstep, whatever it may be, is never, you're not going to be, there's no punitive behavior associated with it. We're going to coach through it and talk through it and say, wow, okay, what did we learn from this? And how can we do better? But I think that's super important too. So I do feel like we have very much, that term family sort of company gets thrown around a lot, but it does feel like a family. Everyone's got each other's back. It's a phenomenal team.
You are clearly an inspiring leader. And I've got to ask this question. It's not a trick question, I promise. And that is, who's inspired you? Who's inspired you? Because you're clearly inspiring to your team and others, but who's inspired you?
I've had some great leaders. So Fabrizio Frida, and then Chris Good. So with Estee Lauder, Fabrizio is the global CEO and Chris Good was the president of North America. I would say those are two, and they were later in my life. I would say when I was younger, I really struggled to think about a lot of people in the world inspired me, right? People doing amazing things. But in terms of in the corporate world and CEOs and conventional, CEOs, I really was struggling to find someone, but those two were fantastic. I mean, I had a lot of time with Fabrizio, where we would, I'd prepare my LRP or my strategy and sit in a room with him and, 30 to 60 other people and share what that was. And he was always the most remarkable listener. And then you would finish, and then he would give you 2 or 3 pieces of advice that were just brilliant. They were always brilliant. But I think the listening aspect is what I learned the most from, and just, he was very accessible. And then Chris Good is just like the cool, fun leader. Like, he's an athlete, he boxes, and he's very relatable, and just an all around good guy. And, also put us in a position to win, provided a lot of resources, always had experts coming in to help us learn more, put us on little strategic teams. So like I was on the strategic e-com team with Estee Lauder, which is where you're not just on your brand, but you're working with people like in that area of the business to, look at, future growth channels, et cetera. So yeah, he put us, they both put us very much in a position to succeed.
That's awesome. It sounds like you've had great mentors, and it sounds like you're leading an incredible team and organization there at Be Glowing, which is critical, because again, to your point, is it's really just ones and zeros, the technology and the products are products, but it's the people that create that synergy. And it sounds like you've built an environment where people are able to experiment, fail fast, be innovative, create new ideas. So that's wonderful, Dawn. Question for you too is if we only have about a minute or two left, is what are some of the hot trends in your industry? I mean, I was really, you mentioned something about bronzing, and I laughed because I'm thinking about, like, there's COVID things that have happened, like people bought bread machines, and people are buying bronzing. So what are the other hot topics around the health and beauty? Is CBD hot? I mean, tell us what might be hot.
I mean, CBD is a couple years ago, so not super hot, but it's.
Hey, JB, you're behind the time, man.
It's hard. It is so hard, John. It is so hard. I would say, I mean, luxury skincare is super hot right now. People just really want to pamper themselves. So, and then sustainability, right? So products, brands that are sustainable, that are concerned about the environment, definitely gaining a lot of traction. And we're seeing for the first time that that's really penetrated the luxury market, right? So there's a lot on how much both L'Oreal and Estee Lauder have done in the sustainability area. And then we have some great brands like Vintner's Daughter, R&Co Blue, which is a blue brand, which is ocean-friendly brand. That's a gorgeous luxury brand. The Royal Fern. We have some gorgeous brands that are very, very luxurious, but also doing their part to protect our environment.
That's awesome. That's a great trend, and we're seeing that for sure. Yeah,
sustainability, absolutely.
That's important. Well, thank you so much, Dawn. This has been amazing catching up with you and learning about your business and you personally. Incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We told you it would fly by, and it did. Thank you so much for being
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.
We'll have you back on in 2022.
Wow. JB, I got to tell you, it's rare to have somebody and speak to somebody that is, from a business perspective, her business acumen is amazing, but the people acumen, and I love the fact she talked about storytelling and differentiation, and oh my gosh, highlighting the word listening and how important that is, right? Oh my gosh, I just what a great leader. What a great leader she is.
A great leader, and staying true to what they're focused on. I love the fact that they're not falling into the Amazon trap.
I love that too.
They're going to take their own path. And I'm really intrigued by the technology that's coming. She alluded to something really cool.
She did. I want to know what it is.
Yeah, I want to know what it is. And listen, it was John. That was just an incredible show. It's always wonderful to have a senior leader like Dawn on the show and learn a little bit about what happens at the very top of a business. So that was fantastic. What do we got going on in a couple of weeks? We've got holidays, obviously. So what's our next big event?
We do. Our last show of the year will be episode 18 in 2 weeks, 2 weeks from today on the 16th of December. And we're going to have the Field Nation CEO with us. So we'll have another CEO from a very, very different industry. So it should be an intriguing conversation as well. Looking forward to it.
That's going to be awesome. I just love, again, the senior leadership. And again, Field Nation, If you don't know what that is, you definitely would want to tune in and certainly learn about it before you even get to the show in 2 weeks. And John, if you don't mind, I'm going to have a little bit of breakfast. Is that okay? So I'm going to
enjoy. So thank you, JB,
We'll see you in 2
and
weeks.
thanks to all of our listeners. We'll talk soon. Take care. Happy holidays, everybody.
Take care. Happy holidays. Bye-bye.